Hi there. In this video we're going to talk about principle number 8, which is under threat, strike first and decisively to high value targets. Now, first of all, what I want to talk about is there is quite a few different strikes you can use in self-protection, but there's only so many you should use. So we're going to talk about the strikes, what they are, and how you should use them, right? So first of all, let's talk about the fist, right? You can see the fist, right? Now, I would highly recommend you do not use your fist when defending yourself on the street. Why? Well, there's been too many, and you can Google this, there's been too many boxers have broken their hands in the street using the fist. And you might say to yourself, well, how is that possible? I mean, the boxers are supposed to be experts at punching. How did they manage to break their hands in the street, right? Well, it's very simple, right? When boxers are punching in the ring, they're using gloves. I think it's, I can't remember if it's 16 ounce or 18 ounce or something, right? But basically, imagine that's a fist, right? Well, that's a fist, right? Well, when you've got a boxing glove on, it comes out to about here, roughly, and then under, right? So when you come to here, what's happening is when they're punching in a boxing ring, they're not using their knuckles, right? They're not using their knuckles. They can't possibly use their knuckles because the padding of the glove comes out to about here, roughly, right? So what's happening is when they punch, the vibration is going from here straight in to the fingers, right? They're not hitting my knuckles, they're hitting me here because the glove is hitting. It can't possibly hit with the knuckles, so the vibration is going straight in to the fingers, right? And what happens over time, if you keep doing that, then what's going to happen is it's going to weaken the bones of the fingers, because you're not meant to punch with the fingers. You're meant to punch, well, you should, if you're going to use a bare fist, punch with the knuckles, right? But I'll tell you why you shouldn't punch with the knuckles also, right? But first of all, with fingers, because you're using gloves, the force goes through the fingers, and you're weakening the fingers. And then this is why boxers break their hands outside, because they're not used to punching with the knuckles. They're used to punching with big gloves on, and so when they go to punch outside, it's the old saying, how you train is how you fight, right? That's a true saying. Now, that's what happens, they're hitting heat here because of the gloves, right? And the same can be said for modern karate, right? When I done karate 40 odd year ago, right, we had pads that came out to about, say, here. So you weren't actually hitting with the knuckles, you were hitting similar to a boxer's glove, you were hitting with this, but it was padded, right? Now, obviously, I did any damage because it's supposed to be light sparring, to be honest, right? But sometimes it would get out of control and it would be hard, like full contact sparring. But I didn't stay in it long enough to damage myself, right? Now it was different when I was hitting the pads. The first karate club I was trained in was a style called Shukokai, which were notorious for hitting polystyrene like pads, which is like polystyrene tiles, right? All put together and they taped them up, and you hit with the knuckles, obviously, right? You hit with the knuckles, right? But again, that's hitting pads. The reason you don't want to use your fist outside is because even if you hit bone, like somebody's jaw, yeah, there's a good chance you might break their jaw if they've got their mouth open a wee bit. But if they put their head down, you hit their head, you could damage your knuckles because you're hitting hard. Plus, even in a melee fight, you could hit a wall, you could hit a fence, you could hit a door, you could hit anything hard, right? Miss and hit, right? So you don't want to be using your fist outside, right? You don't want to be doing that, right? It's okay in the club, hitting pads and stuff like that, but no, especially if it's hitting pads, if it's bare knuckle right enough, no with gloves on, because like I said, you're actually effectively hitting with here, and that's no good. Your fingers aren't meant to strike, right? Even with gloves on, they're not meant to strike, right? It damages them. This is why boxers, like I said, end up with broken hands in the street, and there's many boxers broken the hands in the street. Don't believe me on this? Google it or YouTube it, right? And you'll see plenty of boxers that have done this. Right, so the next one is a hammer fist, which is obviously that way, right? That's what you want to be using. You want to be using a hammer fist, right? And you're hitting obviously with the soft part here. So the hammer fist's a great weapon. You can hit to the nose, you can hit to the temple, right? You can hit to the collarbone, or the clavicle as they call it in medical terms, right? Now, great weapon if you can hit these targets. So hammer fist is what you want to be using. But the best hand weapon that I think is what you call the palm heel, right? Hitting with the palm, right? In old school combatives, they call it the chin jab, right? Which primarily is to hit under the chin, right? You're hitting up. You'll see if you look on YouTube, you'll see old footage of W. Fairbairn, and they practice getting at this kind of thing, right? Now, that's effectively what you want to do with the palm heel. You want to hit under the chin, right? Or across the chin to the side, or to the face, anywhere in the face, right? There's other targets, but we're not going to talk about behind us here. Now, the other targets could be solar plexus if you can get to them, right? Next target was one of my favourites, actually. I'm not sure what you call it. I call it the Y hand because it's like a Y, right? And that's primarily used for the throat, right? So imagine that's somebody's throat, right? So you're hitting in like so, right? So that's a great strike for the throat. I mean, you could do it that way, I suppose, right, if you wanted, but it's better doing it with that way, right? The next one is a karate strike, which is a shuto, right? Which isn't that, it's the opposite, it's that way, up that way, right? Now that's a great strike. You're hitting by this part. You're hitting by this part, right? You're hitting up the way like that, and that's good for the groin, or hitting to the temple even, right? Or the neck, right? Now, they're the strikes I use. I've marked them down here so I can remind myself, right? But that's primarily the strikes I use. I don't use the fist outside. The only time you should use your fist is to soft parts of the body, i.e. the stomach, right? You shouldn't use it in any hard part, like any bony area, because you could damage your knuckles or break your hand, right? So obviously, my other favourite one is I don't even know what you call it, because it's just basically using your thumb going under the chin here. Just what he did. Fabian uses it a lot in his demonstrations. He does his fingers under here, right? Now, that's a great thing. You're not so much striking, but you're pushing with it, right? And what you're doing with that is you're to get somebody's head back, right? So you push up, gets their head back, straight with the right hand, right? The other targets obviously is kicks, right? Now, how should you kick? Should you do karate kicks, high kicks, or should you do taekwondo kicks, high kicks, or Muay Thai high kicks? No, never mind that nonsense, right? You need to be doing kicks to the lower body, right? You need to go for the lower abdomen down the way, right? So your target, the highest target you should be aiming for with your kick is the lower abdomen, then it's the groin, then it's the knee, then it's the shin, right? That's the strikes you should be using with your kicks, right? And you can either use a front kick with the ball of the foot, or stomping down on the knee if you're close enough, right? These are the kicks you should be using. So pretty much that covers the strikes, right? And it's up to you how you want to use them. But that's basically the techniques I stick to. Right, I don't use any other techniques. I don't use any fancy techniques. It's simple, straight to the point techniques, right? So don't use the fist, right? Hammer fist, yeah, use that. Palm heel, use that. Y hand, use that. And if you're in close, under here, right, or even using the finger, right, anywhere under here, you push up. That'll open up the throat. Y hand, right? So that's the strikes I recommend you use. Now it's up to you how you use them, but I've just showed you how I use them, right? It's up to you how you use them, right? But I'm just showing you what I use when I'm in a situation. So practice that and see what you think, right? Until next video, goodbye.